They say history is written by the victors, but some stories, the most chilling, the most disturbing, were never meant to be told at all. This is one of them. A Roman emperor, a dead wife, and a young boy who would be forced to become her replacement. This is the story of Nero, not as the madman on a coin or a villain in a book, but as a man whose grief turned into obsession and whose power turned obsession into horror. But before we begin, I want to ask you something. If you find stories like this worth telling, worth remembering, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more silent stories from the shadows of history. And let me know in the comments, what do you think drives a man to turn a boy into his lost bride? Your thoughts matter. Your voice matters. Now, let's go back, almost 2,000 years, to the most powerful empire on earth, Rome, 65 AD. The scent of roses lingers in the emperor's palace, but the source of that fragrance, Poppaea Sabina, is gone. Poppaea, Nero's second wife, was not just his consort, she was his obsession. Described by ancient sources as stunningly beautiful, fiercely ambitious, and manipulative, she climbed the Roman political ladder with charm and cunning. She had once been married to a general, but left him for Nero, seducing the young emperor with promises of loyalty and allure. But the very same passion that bound them also destroyed them. In a moment of rage, historical accounts claim that Nero struck her, possibly kicking her while she was pregnant, leading to her sudden death. Whether by accident or fury, the result was the same. Poppaea was dead, and Nero was broken. He did not remarry immediately. Instead, he plunged into mourning, but not the kind softened by time. His grief became theatrical, obsessive. Statues were carved in her image, her body embalmed with rare spices and laid in a mausoleum with imperial honors. Her rooms were preserved as if she might walk back into them any moment. And Nero began to see her, in dreams, in reflections, in the whispers of palace corridors. When grief festers in the heart of a tyrant, it turns not into tears, but into terror. Then came Sporus, a boy, barely a teenager, with soft, almost ethereal features, a striking resemblance to Poppaea. We don't know much about his origins. Some sources suggest he was a palace slave. Others hint he may have been from a fallen noble house. But none of that mattered to Nero. What mattered was that the boy looked like her, and in that fragile face, Nero saw salvation. So he made a decision, one that would shake even hardened Roman hearts. He ordered Sporus to be castrated, a brutal, irreversible act. The boy was stripped not only of his future as a man, but of his agency, his selfhood. He was renamed Poppaea, dressed in silks, perfumes, and imperial jewelry, taught to speak, walk, and smile like the empress. Then, in front of the Roman court, Nero married him. Witnesses wrote of a golden veil, vows whispered in ceremony, the emperor beaming with a twisted pride. Some laughed, some wept, most stayed silent, because silence in Rome was safer than truth. Imagine waking every day not as yourself, but as someone else. Sporus was now living in the gilded cage of the imperial palace. He attended ceremonies, state dinners, and religious rituals at Nero's side, always in the role of Poppaea. His identity was erased. No one addressed him as a boy, nor acknowledged who he once was. He existed only as a memory, a vessel to soothe a tyrant's grief. Did he resist? Did he cry at night? Did he ever speak his own name again? We do not know. No record of his words survive. Only observations that he was always quiet, that he rarely made eye contact, that he stood too straight, as if held up by fear. Nero, meanwhile, drifted further into madness. He began performing on stage, singing, acting, playing the lyre, demanding applause. Rome became his theater. And Sporus? Just another tragic role in his grand, bloody opera. In 68 AD, Rome rose up. Rebellions ignited in Gaul and Hispania. Generals turned their backs. The Senate declared Nero a public enemy. Panicked, Nero fled to a villa outside Rome with a few loyal companions, including Sporus. There, the once feared emperor wept. "What an artist the world loses in me," he is said to have cried. Cornered and betrayed, Nero chose suicide, helped by a servant who delivered the fatal blow. Sporus lived, but not for long. He was captured by the new regime, which saw in him not a victim, but a spectacle. Nymphidius Sabinus, a power-hungry officer, wanted to marry him as Nero had done. Not out of grief, but to cement his legitimacy. Sporus, faced with reliving the horror, chose death over performance. He stabbed himself in the throat, a final act of defiance. He was barely 20. Sporus has no grave, no marble effigy, no elegy written in his honor. Just footnotes, side comments in dusty scrolls. But his story, painful, confusing, and dark, tells us something essential. That history isn't only about emperors and battles. It's also about those who suffered quietly, who were used, erased, and forgotten. He wasn't a queen, nor a consort, nor a man or woman as Rome defined it. He was a person, and he deserved more.